All right, so the fights for International Fight Week, well, that very month, have been pretty much decided, barring a few additions, and many people are actually calling it the most stacked collection of fight bookings in the history of the UFC in a calendar month. So I'd like to briefly summarize. We've got Makhachev and Poirier, we've got Strickland and Costa, Whitaker and Chimaev, McGregor and Chandler, and loads of other great matchups scattered throughout the 5 cards that are taking place that month. There's one other I was thinking about as well. Pavlovich and Volkov was another one. I might have missed. That's a great fight. And they're friends as well, which is gonna be a bit weird.
Cannonier and Imhoff.
I was gonna mention that, but I didn't. So read into that what you will. It's a good fight. Do you know what I mean? It's and you've got your boy Roundtree and Hill.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna let you have that one as well.
Yeah.
Now some of these cards, admittedly, are still a little bit incomplete, but based on what we know has been booked, do you agree with what seems to be a very growingly strong sentiment out there that this is the most stacked month of fights in a calendar year ever?
It's a bold statement. We are on. We're in the 300s now, y'all. So like, there's a lot of cards and a lot of revisionist history to go through to say a statement like that. But I do think it is unbelievably stacked. You know what, man? I feel like the matchmakers outside of Dana, because really, in my opinion, like, I think what Dana's actually doing is he has some ideas on fights, but the majority of the fights or majority of the time, he's getting these cards and just giving the thumbs up or thumbs down. Like, yes, I like that card, and so it's really Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby that are really doing the grunt work of putting these things together. Like, they should be the ones that are really getting the applause that I think that they deserve. But I'm dancing around the question. Do I think it's the
No, take
best?
your time. I'm loving this. This is all very relevant, as opposed to when I go off and talk total bullshit for 5 minutes. That has nothing to do with anything. You're keeping it relevant. You keep going, my friend. You say what you want to say.
Do I think it's the best? I think it's really hard to say. Like, I give it an incomplete because we don't know. Because you know what? Like, there's a possibility that some of these fights that we think are going to be great could be terrible. So on paper, as Anthony Smith would say, on paper, it does look like one of the better months that we've seen. But who knows? Conor may go out there and shit the bed. Paulo Costa may not sign the contract. Cannonier may do what Cannonier sometimes does. Chimaev might gas out. We don't know. We don't know. So there's a lot of different factors, but on paper, it does look like an amazing and possibly one of the best months of fights that we've seen, at least in recent memory.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's suggesting that the fights are going to be the best fights we've ever seen in a calendar month. I think it's more to do with the names that have been collected. I think people are more on, it's the paper factor, because obviously you can never predict how fights are going to go. It's more do you think they've stacked it in a way that they've done the best they can to make this a great
You know what?
Fights.
Another thing to add to that is perhaps it's not that it's the most stacked slate of fights in a month that we've seen. Maybe it's the fact that we know more about the people who are fighting. Maybe it's more about the fact that these people have marketed themselves, the UFC has chipped in, and we are more knowledgeable about the people who are fighting. So therefore it feels as if it's a big fight month. a bigger
Mm,
fight month than we've seen. So I think that that plays a major part in it. It's just our awareness as a community of the fighters, and I don't think that
yeah.
that was necessarily there, previous years or whatnot.
Mm. Now we said this. We say this on quite a few of our videos because I think sometimes people don't believe us. We don't talk about this beforehand. We just go right, boom. There's the topic, and then we wait until we meet up and start recording, and then we judge on each other's instant live reactions.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about most of these fights. I'll be real. I am. The reason why I brought this topic to your attention is because when it got splattered all over Twitter a couple of weeks ago, when people were like, "Oh my god, it's the most stacked month I've ever seen," and like these are the best fights, like this is going to be the best international fight week month of all time. I'm like, I don't agree at all. I like genuinely, I don't think it's even the most stacked set of cards in a calendar month this year, let alone of all time. I think there are 2 months this year we've had that that were potentially better on paper than this one is. And I'm gonna say why. I'm gonna be as quick as I can about this because I really fucking like. I'm not excited about this particular month at all. You already know how I feel about Makhachev and Poirier.
Yeah.
I've already spoken about it as a pointless waste of fucking time, and I hate that fight. I haven't softened on it, as you can tell. Strickland and Costa, yeah, it's probably going to be fun, if it even happens. Because now we're hearing that Costa hasn't even signed up yet, and we're like, what, 6 weeks away? He hasn't signed a contract. That's very worrying, knowing what Costa's like. You've got Whitaker and Chimaev. I mean, it's a nice fight. It's intriguing, but I don't care. McGregor and Chandler is happening a year later than it should have done. And the reason why I don't care about that one is because they dragged it out for so fucking long that any ball-tingling sensation I had about it went the 10th time we thought it was going to happen. I don't really care. How do I say this? Like, there will be some significant additions. I feel there could be, but it is a little bit late in the day. And I do want to be clear here. Am I saying that these fights are bad? I'm not saying that at all. They're all intriguing, interesting fights in their own way. But people calling it the most stacked month of all time are fucking stupid. And I'm just not that hyped. And I'm sure you're shocked that I feel that way.
Yeah, that really shocked me there. Not really, no, not at all, actually. Especially when I'm thinking about the people. When I'm thinking about the people that are in it, like I know how you feel about Dustin Poirier. I know how you feel about, at least in recent times, how you feel about Makhachev and how he's held up the division. How you feel about Poirier getting a shot that may not be deserved. How you feel about Cannonier not being the most exciting. Obviously
I like him as a person.
Yeah. Connor's Connor. He dragged out this fight, and I mean, there's a lot of those things that I agree with, especially the Connor one. That one really irritates me, because of how it factors into the division when it shouldn't. It really shouldn't factor into this division at all whatsoever.
And the thing is, I don't like Michael Chandler as well. I think there's something very creepy and weird about that goblin. He's way too like wholesomely nice to me. I'm concerned. Yeah. I think there's something very strange about that man. Nobody is that wholesome and goes in there and beats the fuck out of people.
Yeah, I know my dad used to call people like that Eddie Haskell's. So that's an old Leave It to Beaver reference. So that was their neighbor who used to be all nice and friendly, but he was like the worst person. And yeah, Chandler does kind of give off those vibes a little bit, but
and that kind of vibes.
But I mean, I just want the fight to be over with. I just wanted to get it over with. I don't particularly care
That's
who
the point,
wins.
though.
I just want it to
why
be
it's
over
like,
with.
that's it. That's the overwhelming feeling I have about that. It's just like, just be done with it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it really is. It's like, just get it over with so we can move on to other things. It's not that I think that the month. It's like I said. It's not that I think that that month of fights is terrible. I don't. And there's some really nice ones kind of sprinkled in terms of. There's some really good little sneaky fights in some of the prelims, but some of those cards aren't finished yet.
Yeah.
As well. There's one card I was looking at in between. I think it's in between 302 and 303. That only has 2 fights in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's still things to be added, but from what I've seen, I'm like, I'm not that excited. And it's more to do with just the general hype of, it's what a month this is. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's fine.
Yeah, it's back to that expectations things that I was talking about. When we think about the St. Louis card, our expectations were low. Mm-hmm. When we think about UFC 301, our expectations were very, very, very low, and they clearly exceeded them. And now, we're getting to a month where we have bigger names, more impactful fights to the divisions, and we have some people who don't always deliver. So you never know. It could be great. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm more talking. I do believe the fights will be great. I'm just more talking about it from it's again, the people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Look what we've got on paper. It's gonna be amazing, kind of thing. And it's like, no, it's not that great on paper. And this is why the UFC keep getting away with, like, sometimes, taking that eye off the prize.
Yeah.
Because I think there's definitely, it's International Fight. I know I'm calling it International Fight Week month. I'm doing that on purpose. But that whole June month.
Yeah.
Is kind of seen as the, like, I don't know, the showcase for MMA as a whole. It's seen as the premier month.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that, we've had way better months this year on paper, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.